what we're talking about here, the correlation coefficient, is a product to confirm on radar that there could be debris being wafted. And to be 100% sure, what we look for is that little drop to be co-located with where there's reflectivity or precip. So let's zoom this in a little farther. So here's Water Valley. If you're in Water Valley, be in your tornado shelter right now. Up 45, up the Parkway, coming into Mayfield, be in your shelter, away from windows. Go to your tornado place of shelter now. Water Valley, let's leave this zoomed in right here. I want to bring this back to the velocity mode. Yeah, certainly try. I think in the last 2 minutes, that certainly looks like it's gotten a little more organized. Right over Water Valley, this is a possible tornado over Water Valley right now. You've got the winds here moving strong from south to north, the winds here moving north to south, and that is certainly, at least in the last scan, the rotation has gotten a little tighter and a little better organized. So right over Water Valley right now, this is a possible tornado, and it's tracking to the northeast. Let's move this a little over and zoom in if we're going to give you a little better perspective. I want to give you some street names here real quick and a little closer inspection of where this is heading. So if you're anywhere on 45, Kingston Road, Water Valley, Cuba Road, this is your rotation. It's tracking to the northeast at 70 miles an hour very quickly. So again, the radar is showing this rotation right over Water Valley right now. But again, remember, radar is like taking a picture of a train. It takes a picture and the train moves real fast down the track. So really, this rotation is probably right here right now in real time as we're talking to you. It's over Kingston Road right now. So if any of these areas sound familiar to you or you live in these areas, you need to be sheltered right now. Water Valley, Cuba Road, approaching 129. If you're anywhere on any of these rural roads north of Pilot Oak off of 129, be sheltered. This is a very fast-moving, possibly rain-wrapped tornado that just came out of Water Valley that's tracking to the northeast. It'll come up to the intersection here of 129 and 339. Then you see it trying to get a little more gathered. Emergency manager Tracy Warner confirms, she's saying, to possible rotation 2 miles east of Water Valley, which would confirm what we're seeing here on the radar. So let's zoom this out a little further. This is of the concern right now about the tornadic potential is coming out of Water Valley. So let's position this a little better here. So here's Mayfield. Here's Central Graves County. Here's Sedalia between Mayfield and Sedalia. Here's 121. Here's the Parkway. There's Water Valley. That's the rotation right here. Right, coming out of see the Y in Water Valley, that's where the rotation is. So if you're anywhere in these areas, 339, coming up to Sedalia, in between Mayfield, Sedalia, 121, and Golo. Golo, anywhere off of 121. If you live between Mayfield and Sedalia, Wingo, off of 339, this is where you need to be sheltered right now for that possible tornado. Let's go ahead and bring this back over and let's check our CC product. That stands for the debris tracker. So if there was debris being wafted by an active tornado, notice this area broadly between Wingo and Water Valley. Right in that area, when we put this product over that, we would see a little dropout over Wingo or in that area. So let's put that on there and notice. It's messy, but it's, I guess, maybe, Trent, I think it's going to be really tough to tell unless it was something pretty pronounced. No.
It's a pretty messy look. There's just, if you look on reflectivity over to the east of Water Valley, there's just ever so slightly a little bit of a kink to that. You know, kind of looking behind the scenes, I think straight line winds just ahead of the line is still the biggest concern. I do think that, you know, kind of based on radar trends, the rotating part of that storm is going to stay more toward the south or the right side of that polygon. You know, so most likely from between Wingo and Sedalia is probably going to be the area where, you know, if there is any rotation in there, that's where it's going to be. But it's a little tough to detect. And honestly, you may want to go back to the radar and look down, kind of down toward off to the northeast of Martin. There's maybe a little bit better area that looks like it's trying to get a little rotation in it.
So here we are. This is for thunderstorm warning, by the way, in northeast Weakley County. See if we can put the velocity tracker on this. Yeah. Possibly could have a new tornado warning here coming out for southeastern Graves and southwestern Caldwell, north of Palmersville, right up to 94, this area right here. Remember, the red indicates wind going away from the radar, so north to south, the green, south to north. When they're right next to each other in their brighter colors, that's faster wind blowing in opposing directions. That's when you get your rotation. Also, I want to bring this back up to Ballard County area. A lot of people asking for that. So again, to reiterate, Mayfield, for the current moment, you're under a tornado warning, but the possible tornado went through Wingo about 2 minutes ago. Went through Water Valley, passed just the southeast of Wingo. It is probably going to pass just southeast of town. But again, there still can be some damaging straight line wind in the Mayfield area in about 5 to 15 minutes from now. But moving this up here, again, in this mode of the radar is what we call storm relative mode. It's not going to show it as well. But there is some pretty strong wind in Arlington. You seeing that, Trent? It's pretty strong wind there with that little that swirl that Trent was explaining to you earlier.
Yeah, the comma head.
Yeah. In the Arlington area, there's some pretty strong wind too. And they are going to continue that tornado warning, moving northeast at 80 miles an hour. This is a very, very fast moving tornado warning. So let's zoom out. Notice you've got a lot of rain here in Paducah. La Center to Bardwell, this line here, that's the strong damaging wind, and then there still can be a possible tornado that forms. Let's do a quick zoom out, give you perspective. Southern Illinois, there's really no threat of severe weather. Much of southeast Missouri, we could sound the all clear right now. If you're east of the lakes and in front of this line, damaging winds and a tornado remain possible. Let's go back into that tornado warning, because again, 80 miles an hour of forward speed, that thing is moving very fast. And just think about that real quick. If the speed of the storm itself is 80 miles an hour, it doesn't take a lot of wind coming out of the sky when it's going that fast to produce wind damage. So anywhere on this line we've discussed, be indoors and away from windows, because it's going to come in, it's going to hit quick, and it's going to move out, that damaging wind potential. Let's give you a track broadly of that squall. Moving to the northeast, let's just split the difference, because the supercell, the Weather Service, has got 80. Before it was 65. Let's just split the difference for right now and call it 70. Paducah, about 429. I know you're looking at this saying, what are you talking about? It's raining and thundering in Paducah. Well, this is the arrival time of the strongest wind of the whole evening. The center of Paducah, about 429. Downtown, probably about 430. Reedland, probably a little after 430. Eddyville, 449. Marion, Kentucky, although we think probably this worst of the wind will pass south of Marion. Eddyville, about 449. Marion itself, 458, and then eventually Providence thereafter. But let's go back into the tornado warning storm, and let's track that out further. Yeah, this is certainly a very strong push of wind. Let's just leave it on the reflectivity for right now, because I don't want you to get confused by looking at the velocity, because it's not, again, as we've repeated, it's going to be messy to look at. If you're in Mayfield, Golo, Sedalia, along 121 down to Farmington, Coldwater. If you live anywhere between Murray and Mayfield, this is a very strong push of wind. See how it's oriented? See how the radar is oriented with this curve of a backward C? The reflectivity in the radar is telling us and telling you, all right, this is where the raindrops are blowing. This is the direction and orientation they're moving. What you're literally looking at here is the wind, very strong, coming out of the south. And behind it, you see how the reflectivity drops out here near the P and Purchase Parkway here between Dublin and Wingo. This is the wind pushing and punching in very strong right behind this. So Mayfield, wind damage here is possible in the next 5 to 10 minutes. 65, 70, or higher miles an hour. Very strong push and punch of wind coming in. Sedalia, Mayfield, 121, Golo in northeastern Graves County. But in terms of an actual tornado, yeah, it's possible in there. Maybe down here near Sedalia, it's a little better defined on the radar, but to be crystal clear, Mayfield to Sedalia and Golo, if you're anywhere in this triangle, Golo, 121, Sedalia to Mayfield, be sheltered right now. If you're outside of that, down to Cuba, down into Weakley County, yeah, there's some areas here we're watching that could spawn a new warning, but for right now, I think this is the primary concern for both straight line wind damage and possible tornado.
Yeah, strongest winds right now from right around Mayfield, Sedalia, and then kind of arcing back down to the south toward Palmersville and moving toward Cottage Grove. So may want to do another track here on the line as a whole, because it's going to be coming into Murray down through Puryear and Paris here shortly. Line as a whole moving off to the east at about 60, 65 miles per hour. Still have that severe thunderstorm warning in effect for those of us over toward Marshall and Callaway County.
You see what I'm seeing on the regular super res velocity on our products behind this? Look how there's kind of looks like there's three little areas of starting to develop now. Two of them in Central Graves and one in Northern Weakley a little bit. Kind of looks like it's starting to get a little more clear. On that
just a bit. And the thing that we have to remember with these tornado warnings in a situation like today, this is absolutely 100% different setup than what we had with the tornadoes back in December. These are not going to be long-lived, strong tornadoes. What they're going to be is very quick. If we have anything at all, if we have a funnel cloud, if we have a tornado, it's going to drop out of the cloud quickly, and tough to detect on radar, and certainly tough to see because they're going to be wrapped in rain. So much more difficult to detect, and they're going to come and go quickly. But I think that whole line that what you've got tracked right there, the damaging wind threat is looking a little more well-defined as this thing starts to come into southeastern Graves, into southern sections of Marshall County, into Callaway County, and even down into eastern Weakley County. Starting to see a little bit better signature of those straight-line winds there. So Cottage Grove, Puryear, Hazel, and Murray over the next half hour or so, we're going to have some real strong winds, possibly 50, 60 mile per hour wind gusts as this line comes through.
And there's the arrival times of the whole squall line for you. Simpsonia, 4:33. Murray, Central Callaway, about 4:36. New Concord, 4:46. The Princeton area, 5:08. And up to Dawson Springs, about 5:18. That's the arrival of the strongest push of wind, possibly damaging, and the potential for embedded tornadoes. Again, Murray, 4:36. Princeton, 5:08. Dawson Springs, 5:18. But it's notorious. We've discussed this at great length, the three of us, and we've seen this many times. For whatever reason, once these squall lines tend to get east of Highway 45 in Mayfield, they oftentimes kick up more in the way of rotation. And just looking at this mode here, check out just north of Mayfield, Trent. I think that might be a little something here.
Yeah, that's interesting. We'll have to keep an eye on that. Because you see on reflectivity how there's a bit of a curve. One thing I think that we're seeing, you were talking about there was three little individual areas that may have been rotating. I think what we're starting to see down southeast of Mayfield, down toward Cottage Grove, you've got a whole segment there where you've got greens and red next to each other. Sometimes that's an indication that you've got the strong straight line winds, and you've got winds kind of coming down and going in opposite directions. So that may be more of a downburst type situation there.
But at the end of the day, guys, we're talking about the potential in here. Mayfield coming towards Golo, Sedalia, damaging wind, and a rain-wrapped tornado could drop down at any moment, even between the radar scans. When there's such high wind shear out there, a tornado can drop down, do damage, and lift back up before the radar scan comes back around and sees it. So be sheltered. Go to your tornado shelter now as a precaution. Golo, eastern Graves County, anywhere along the leading edge of this line, because, again, you see a little kink there, little kink there. We're keeping an eye on those here. And certainly I think this one
Yeah, that's
north of Mayfield.
It's really tightening up there north of Mayfield.
Let's zoom into that right now. Where Trent and I are referring to is right here. Probably going to get a new tornado warning for this momentarily. This is a little more concerning. Again, remember what we've discussed. You're looking at the radar literally telling you where the raindrops in the precip is going. So it's blowing like that, and where it's lighter, blowing around and in like that. So it's very possible we could have a tornado right now, just within the last 60 seconds, if not on the ground, touching down here at any moment, just past 45, coming towards 131. So if you live anywhere along 131, Spence Chapel Road, tornado shelter right now. Tornado shelter right now, Spence Chapel Road, Trace Creek, Church Road, Mackenzie Church Road, 301. This is your possible, maybe even we could say very possible tornado right here, right over 131 right now. That rotation is tightening up. Trace Creek Church Road, be in your tornado shelter right now. 301, let's move this further to the east and notice. This is probably going to parallel 69. Wayne Freeman Road, McKendree Church Road, along 301, south of Mountain Ridge Road, heading towards Lee Bird Road. Any of those areas, now is the time to get to your tornado shelter for this right here. And notice, pretty clear hook. And again, if you're in Mayfield, the worst of this has now passed Mayfield. The threat has now passed Mayfield. Notice the wind coming down like this, curling around like that. That's the reflectivity. Let's put this on the velocity, and you'll see it'll line up real perfect. Boom. There you go. That's a very possible tornado right here. 131 Quail Run Road. And again, remember, this thing is racing northeast at about 70 or 80 miles an hour. Very possible tornado on the ground right now, rain wrapped over Neely Road, Spence Chapel Road, Quail Run, 131. Let's move this further to the northeast. So to repeat, if these areas sound familiar to you, there is a very possible tornado wrapped in rain. Dr. Hurt Road, Heath Lane, 301, River Road, State Route 427. Further to the northeast, this is in northeastern parts of the county. Golden Spur, Wayne Freeman Road, Van Pitt Road, State Route 4080, Oak Level Road. Now you're coming into parts of western Marshall. So let's zoom this out. We haven't put a track on it in a minute. Don't want to get too much tunnel vision here, so zoomed in. This is probably the Trent, if you want to agree and come on here in a second, this is probably the two strongest areas of rotation we've had. And like we said, new tornado warning now that includes Marshall County. So Draftonville, Benton, Fair Dealing, these are the areas very likely could have a tornado, if not already on the ground, one there, and maybe even one here, moving very, very quickly to the northeast. So if you're anywhere in the path of this, Draftonville, you're right in the line for this possible rain-wrapped tornado, and this one here heading towards Benton. If you're anywhere in Benton to Draftonville along 68 and eventually heading up towards the area of the lakes, Bryensburg, near the moors, these are two possible rain-wrapped tornadoes that are tracking pretty quickly to the northeast. And again, you want to make sure you get to your shelter right now. So Trent's going to tell you more about that newest tornado warning, which just came out for Marshall.
Yeah, we'll kind of do a little bit of a reset here and kind of get you back on. Let's go clear this out. Let me zoom the radar out just for a bit and get you the latest information here on our new tornado warning. And actually another tornado warning just issued here. So let's let me zoom this way out. I don't want to cover up our information here. So we have a tornado warning in effect now for Marshall County and northern Callaway County and eastern Graves County until 5:15 radar indicated rotation. That includes Benton, Fair Dealing, Mayfield, and Simpsonia. And then a tornado warning farther south until 5 o'clock for those of us in Callaway County and southern Marshall County. That includes Kirksey, Murray, New Concord, and Shiloh. That also is a radar indicated area of rotation. Let me lift off some roads for you here. This storm, possible tornado around Benton at around 4:40, and we also have those of you on I-24 between mile marker 22 and 29. That's an area to avoid over the next few minutes as this storm passes. Also, I-69 between mile marker 24 and 51.
A lot of people saying, Trent, don't mean to jump in on you. A lot of people in the chat saying they're seeing reports seem to be coming out of a possible, or not possible, people reporting they've seen a funnel cloud with that storm that's coming out of northeastern, and as I'm sure you just saw there on the chat.
Yeah. So Highway 80 and 299.
And that's exactly where somebody in our Facebook put just now. So that certainly seems to be legit.
All right, so let's come down here for a closer view of what's going on here. Highway 80 and 229. Let's zoom in just a little bit more. And there are two different areas that we're seeing here. Right here and right here. A couple of different circulations that we have to watch. Both of these headed up now across the Graves and Marshall County line. And let me kind of put some really not seeing terribly strong winds with this. Let me go back out just a little bit more so we get some perspective here. So right here right under the 58 sign and right just to the north of I-69 here, getting ready to cross over. That's the two areas that we're watching. And then we've got this entire line here in parts of Callaway County that we're tracking. And this from Kirksey down toward Lynn Grove really has more of an appearance of straight line wind because you notice how we've got a straight line here with green and then red. This is probably where the wind is hitting the ground and it's spreading out, but it certainly looks like the possibility of some very gusty winds coming toward Murray. Within that, there is an area of rotation that I'm seeing a little bit better behind the scenes, and it's off to the west of Murray.
Yep. And that one in Marshall Trent is really wrapping up. I think the max radar is about a minute or so behind ours. You'll see there. Yeah, that one in northeastern Callaway really starting to wind up as it's moving.
Yes, there's still two circulations here, and this is out west of Benton, north of Golo. It's hard to get our bearings here. It's out across some pretty rural areas. Let me go back out, zoom out just a little bit more. I'm going to step off camera. I think it's going to be helpful for me if we take the polygon on the bottom off because it's making it hard to. Yeah, let's do this. It makes it a little bit easier to read what we're seeing. Again, have to reiterate, these circulations are small. They are not like the storm that we had back in December. It is going to be really difficult for us to see the tornado. It's going to be wrapped in rain. And with these smaller circulations, many times these tornadoes that are along a line of storms, it'll drop, come back up, and many times will occur before the radar is able to sweep back around and see it. So I'm going to loop this here so that we can get a better look at how this has all evolved over the past couple of minutes. Circulation was definitely the tightest here in between Mayfield and over kind of south of the Bose area. Right there next to the Highway 69 sign, that's where things look like it's the tightest rotation right now, but it does not look quite as well defined as it did just a few minutes ago. Still here out a couple miles to the southwest of Benton is where we're most concerned about. So let me put our distance tracker on here. Here's Benton, about 7 miles to the southwest of town is where we have that strongest rotation. So this is going to be coming into Benton or very close to it over about the next 10 minutes. So we need you to be taking shelter there. Let me pan the radar down to the south and look for, this is our area that I'm concerned about here in Callaway County. So you see how the red coloring here, there's a brighter pop of color just a couple miles to the northeast of Lynn Grove. And if you track this, it's going to be coming across just to the north of Murray. So on the north side of town, that's, I believe, where we're going to have to be paying the closest attention to this storm. Again, it's just to the south of Stella, and it's going to be coming up basically north side of town. So I don't believe south of Murray that we're going to have any issues with this, but certainly north of town, we're going to have to be watching this really, really carefully. And on over just to the south of Highway 80, it's going to come across 121 as it heads into town. And those of us in the Murray area, we need to be taking shelter right now. We do have that tornado warning in effect until 5 o'clock for Callaway County and until 4:45 here in sections of Marshall County. So I want to put some tracks on this. Don't want to get bogged down on any one particular location. I want to make sure that we cover all of our bases here. And I'm going to have to zoom out just a little bit more because these things are really racing. The forward speed on our Callaway County storm is, and we did have some reports of trees down 2 miles north of Mayfield, it looks like.
You see the 68 gust in there too?
Yes, 68 mile per hour gust at the Graves County Mesonet. Several trees down on Highway 97 in Sedalia. So this storm here around Murray is moving east at 75 miles per hour. Let me move the radar over just a little bit. We're starting to get into some messy radar data there. Not sure that we'll be able to fit this entire thing on the map. We're going to try. Notice too, we've got a very strong straight line wind signature here moving into Murray as well. So moving off to the east at about 70 miles per hour. This thing is not going to be in Callaway County long. It's going to blow through fast. That fast forward speed is part of what's going to contribute to the enhanced wind damage threat. So it's coming into Murray in about the next 2 minutes. So if we're in Murray, we need to be in our safe place of shelter. Basement if you have one. Stay away from windows with these strong straight line winds, and make sure you put as many walls between you and the outside as you can. Aurora, look at the straight line wind here. That's going to be coming up into town at about 4:48. Bumpus Mills over here in Tennessee by around 5:02. Fort Campbell by 5:20. And then out of the local 6 area. So, again, this wall of wind coming into the Murray area. The tornado warning, it looks like, let me confirm this. Got a lot going on here all at the same time. We do have our severe thunderstorm warning in effect for Callaway County. Tornado warning does continue for Callaway County as well until 5 o'clock. And then we have severe thunderstorm warnings farther to the south, that wall of wind here in northwest Tennessee coming into Henry County. Severe thunderstorm warning until 5 o'clock for those of you in northern Henry County. That does include Puryear and Paris. That wall of wind coming across Highway 641 in about the next 5 minutes for you guys. And then let's zoom the camera back up to the north as this storm comes into Marshall County. Go back in for a closer view of where we've been tracking that rotation. And just across the county line now, starting to move into Marshall County. It does, okay, now all of a sudden we've got a brand new update, and this thing looks like it's tightened back up again as it's just really close to Benton. So this thing, that's pretty easy to spot there on radar. So if you live in Benton, guys, we need to be getting to our safe place of shelter now. This thing, especially on the northwestern side of town, this is pretty close to where the December 10th storm came through. You remember it came just to the north of town. This one is in the same general area here. So this thing really over the last couple of scans has tightened back up again. And there's a little bit possibly of a CC drop on this too.
Yep.
So
I could think we can almost confirm that now, Trent.
So check this out. All right, so here's our rotation. It's just to the east of Jackson School Road along 348, where 348 and 69 cross over. And I may have to zoom out just a little bit to really fit that on there, give you a look at it. So you notice up here toward Draftonville, right here, that's a sign that there's possible, not confirmed, possible damage going on. And down here toward Fair Dealing, it's a little messier view. But this thing's really tightening up. Now, keep in mind, too, you saw that the CC drop was right about here. This radar may be trying to play catch-up. So we've got, let's see, some damage being reported around 131 North, and that's in Graves County. So we are seeing reports of damage. So we need to assume that there's a tornado here doing damage right now near the Draftonville area, in between Draftonville and Benton. So this thing is going to be tracking off to the east-northeast, 70 miles per hour. Really want to be getting quickly to shelter here in eastern sections of Marshall County. If you live out on the lakes, Buena Vista, the Moors, out toward Cambridge Shores, same general area that got hit back in December. We've unfortunately got this strong signal of rotation coming across right now on radar. Let me go back over to the reflectivity and see maybe if we get a little better clue on how this looks. We've got the sideways V. That's one of the things that we look for with the possible tornado. And back over here to the velocity scan. And let me put my debris tracker back on. Yeah, you see how there's this color drop near, and now it's moved off here to the northeast of Draftonville. So I think we probably need to go by that data as far as where this thing is headed next. So those of you, again, between Grand Rivers and Buena Vista, anywhere along the lake, we've got to be in shelter right now. Assume that we have a tornado ongoing there in Marshall County, headed toward the lakes between Grand Rivers and Buena Vista. That's going to include Cambridge Shores, the Moors area. Unfortunately, we're going to have to deal with this storm yet again in those areas. Let me move the camera around just a little bit, zoom out. And this thing is going to eventually be crossing over the LBL area and then headed up into Caldwell County, perhaps, as well. Let's go back. I really think we just need to use the damage tracker here. It's a small circulation. It is right here. And, of course, this thing, remember, this has already moved on from this location. So it's already probably crossing the lake right now. We had the possibility of 80-mile-per-hour wind gusts around Benton as this thing came through. That's from a storm spotter. And we do have reports of damage and trees down in Graves County. So this thing likely is causing damage right now off to the northeast of Draftonville and is going to be moving off to the northeast quickly. I'm going to widen this out and put it in motion so that we can kind of see how this thing has evolved.
Oh, Trent, there's also possible shot damage along 131 also.
Yeah. So this thing kind of jogging to the northeast a little bit. Grand Rivers, let's be in our safe place of shelter here too, as this storm is possibly causing damage right now in the neighborhood of eastern Marshall County, in between Draftonville and Grand Rivers. Let me put a track on this so that we've got a better idea of exactly where it's headed next. This is a fast-moving storm. It's moving off to the northeast at about 65 to 70 miles per hour. So the rotation, I think our velocity scan is just a little bit behind ground truth as far as what's going on with the damage. So again, moving off to the east at about 65 to 70 miles per hour. We're going to have to zoom the radar back out a little bit more to get all of that on the screen. So let me move this over just a bit. And we will track just kind of this segment of the storm right here along the lake, off to the northeast again at about 70 miles per hour. So it's really, really racing. Catawba at around 450, Princeton at around 504, Dawson Springs at around 515, Madisonville at around 528. So if you live out ahead of this thing, this is a smaller little circulation, and we're hoping that it will start to become a little less organized, but we need to assume that this is going to continue on. Catawba, Princeton, Dawson Springs in about the next 15 to 30 minutes. Moving into your areas, we need to be taking shelter now out ahead of this thing across the lakes. It does look like we have a new tornado warning.
Just want to add to you, Trent, real quick. I'm talking to Chris Conley right now, who's tailing that tornado, and he's been driving on the parkway, and he has seen a lot of trees down in the area, and he says possible to likely rain-wrapped tornado in Bryansburg right now.
Okay.
And there was a 56-mile-an-hour wind gust in Murray as well. That was a minute ago, too.
Yeah, so we're seeing some extensive wind damage possible here in Callaway County. And we've got a new tornado warning now for Caldwell and Lyon County. So we just told you this thing was headed up into the Eddyville, Catawba, Princeton area. That new tornado warning is in effect until 5:15 for Caldwell, Lyon County, Eddyville, Catawba, Princeton, included in that warning. Radar indicated area of rotation, but certainly seeing all signals that this thing is probably producing an active tornado right now over the lakes area in western Kentucky. And I'm going to try to get the Fort Campbell radar to scan this thing here. Move just a little bit. Yeah, you really see here Bryansburg over just to the east of Draftonville, getting ready to cross the lakes over here. Just to the south of Grand Rivers is where we're going to be finding the possible tornado there. And not just in that area, but all along the line farther to the south, we have the potential for some strong straight line winds. Debris tracker, at least out of the Fort Campbell radar, not showing us as much there. Let's kind of move this over, and I'll try scanning for debris out of the Paducah radar site. It's a little messier look to it. This is Grand Rivers right here in southern Livingston County. It's possible that could be some debris. Let me loop this so that we can see kind of the trend. You see here this pop of color that moved from near Draftonville up to Grand Rivers. So it's certainly possible that we've got some damage being detected there around Grand Rivers. That doesn't really match up real well with the rotation signature right now. We do have reports of damage in Sedalia and Cuba as well from wind. Right now, we really, really do see some very strong winds in eastern sections of Marshall and Callaway County. Let me go back down and move south just a little bit. Right here, headed into Aurora, we've got some extremely strong winds getting ready to cross over the lakes. Noah, if you don't mind, would you take the bottom polygon off? There you go. Look at this. Look at this wind right now here around Aurora. Let me stop this here and get perhaps a little bit of info on this wind. Showing up as 47 to 50 miles per hour. I believe we're probably talking about at least 60 to 70 mile per hour wind gust. Sedalia, the National Weather Service Mesonet, reported 68 mile per hour gusts there. We had a report from Benton at about 7 minutes ago of 80 mile per hour wind gusts there. And I really think as this thing moves into sections of Trigg County and into Lyon County, we've got the potential for very strong winds moving in there. Trigg County, we've got a tornado warning now as well. Let me get you that information. Tornado warning until 5:15 for Trigg County. That includes Cadiz and Canton with radar indicated rotation. And here's the thing, instead of, with this whole line of storms, it's really getting into an environment that's much more favorable for very strong straight line winds. So all across Trigg County and all across Lyon County, assume that we're going to have winds possibly over 60 to 70 miles per hour in those areas, okay? And that's going to be moving in here rapidly. Let's move the camera back up to the north just a little bit. Again, around the Bryansburg area, that's where we had detected the strongest rotation here just a few minutes ago. And again, notice here into Aurora, that bright, bright green. That's our strong wind coming into town. We put our debris tracker back on and see what we're able to detect there. It does look a little messier than it did just a little bit ago. Hopefully that means that we don't have debris and damage being done right now. But all across here in Lyon County, Eddyville, Catawba, Princeton, into Caldwell County, assume that this circulation could tighten back up again. It certainly off camera looks still to be pretty intense rotation around and just to the south of the Grand Rivers area, and some hints behind the scenes of some possibly looking at a little bit of damage off to the southeast of Graves County. Kind of hard to get a read on here. Let's go back to regular radar mode, and it's real messy. Again, something that I want to reemphasize here too. Don't go out and try to spot the tornado. Don't go out and try to see what the winds are looking like, because you see here there's a lot of rain out ahead of this thing. So if there is a tornado in here, it is going to be really difficult to detect and see because of all the rain that we're dealing with. So don't wait until you are able to see it with your own eyes. Take shelter now. The strongest winds here, boy, this is really going to be very strong winds coming across Aurora right now and headed into parts of Trigg County. The western part of Trigg County, of course, this is the LBO area, but it's really strong winds. And on down toward New Concord, also seeing possibility of winds that are likely in excess of 60 to 70 miles per hour. Extensive straight line wind damage possible all up and down this line. And also seeing some pretty strong winds back across parts of Livingston County, too. Just wanted to give you a heads up around Smithland and Dykesburg. Just kind of off camera seeing some hints of very strong wind there. Noah, you see anything on your end? Look at this. Right, goodness, across southern Marshall County and out toward Aurora. That is really some of the strongest straight line wind that we've seen all day long out of this storm system.
The SPC just added a special small-scale discussion just for Caldwell, Lyon, Graves, Eastern Marshall. Essentially,
your mic. Turn your mic on. You're muted right now, so we can all hear you.
The SPC, the Storm Prediction Center, just put out a short-range discussion only for Caldwell, Lyon, Eastern Callaway, Eastern Marshall counties, essentially saying that there is a wall of wind, 70 to 80 miles an hour, and that you should be inside shelter. Just think of it as if it's a tornado. Shelter for it, because we're seeing a lot of people on the Facebook feed saying they've got tree damage and power out.
Yeah, so we'll draw a track that looks about like this. This is moving off to the east-northeast at about 65 to 70 miles. I'm going to have to even go out farther here to get all this on camera. We've got tornado warnings for Lyon and Caldwell and Trigg County. Instead of worrying about where there's little small pockets of rotation, this whole thing is able to cause some damage here, okay? So let me try this again on our track. It's already basically coming through Grand Rivers, down across Aurora, and into Callaway County. So this is moving off to the east-northeast about 70 miles per hour. So just the forward speed of this alone is enough to cause, damage. You have winds blowing out of the storm, and then it's all moving at 70 miles per hour. That really is going to cause some big issues. So it's 4:53 right now. This thing's going to be in Princeton at 5:06. So, Eddyville and Catawba, this thing's going to be here in the next 5 minutes or so. Wall of wind that'll blow through. And across Trigg County, it's going to go from here to near Cadiz in about 10 minutes. So Cadiz, you guys are going to be getting this very strong wall of wind coming into town for you guys as well at around 5:03. It's going to be on over toward Hopkinsville at around 5:19.
A lot of tree damage, Trent, in the Mayfield area getting in. And I'm just starting now to be able to go through the videos online and got several just south of Grand Rivers of some trees down along that line.
Yeah, and we do still have, I'm going to zoom back down here into the Grand Rivers area because we do still have at least some hints of pretty strong rotation here. Okay, we want to switch over. Let's go to our feed. Do we have that live?
Yep.
Steve. Okay. All right. So here, this is Chris Conley. He's a storm chaser in western Kentucky, and he is he's going across. This is where are we located again?
His map says that he's on 69. I'm trying to reload it right now. Going north.
Okay, so he's along I-69, and you see it's just pouring down rain there.
Nope, sorry, he's going over the bridge he's going over the Tennessee River right now. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so we're crossing the Tennessee River right now. This is over toward in between exit 27 and 31 there on the interstate on I-24. So again, you see just pouring down rain, and he's basically
I'd say he's about a half a mile behind that.
Yeah, he's just to the north of where we have that circulation. That's down just to the south of Grand Rivers. Yeah, and he's been out and around the Mayfield area. Says a lot of some of the damage has been in the same area of the December 10th damage path, and a lot of tree damage near Highway 85 and 384, which is just to the west of Mayfield. So really tough to see out there. Of course, obviously, judging by this, you don't want to be on I-24 right now. Stay off the roads there if at all possible. And just assume that heading into Lyon County and Trigg County, we're going to have multiple areas of winds, possibly 60 to 70 miles per hour, that is going to have the potential to do a lot of tree damage and knock out power in those areas. All right, we'll monitor that from behind the scenes and come back over to radar. Really tough to see exactly what's going on there. This is one area of concern. Here's Grand Rivers, right here along Highway 62, and just to the south of here, we've had this kind of persistent area of rotation. I'm going to zoom out and try to look at this thing from the Fort Campbell radar site. And again, the biggest concern here is right near the Lyon and Trigg County line. Just some incredibly strong straight line wind, likely some extensive wind damage being done here from southern Lyon County into Trigg County. This is moving toward Cadiz here about 5:03, so we've got about 6-7 minutes until this wall of wind comes into the Cadiz area. Up toward Grand Rivers, Catawba, and Eddyville, it's a little, and I'll emphasize a little, less organized, but I still believe there's the potential for some damaging winds there, but just a wall of wind coming in here into Trigg County. If we had any rotation, it's still going to be over here near Grand Rivers, but I think at this point it's just mainly a straight line wind deal. And look how this bows out here. This is right on the Lyon and Trigg County line. That backwards C that you see right here, that's your wall of wind. And where it's punching out along the county line, would not be surprised at all if we saw winds well over 70 miles per hour in those areas. We'll go down for a little bit of a closer view and inspection here. This is going to be crossing over Rockcastle and coming right up 276. It'll cross 274 and 139 coming in here. And also where you've got kind of the northern edge of that bow, there's the potential that could start to spin and rotate a little bit as well. So something that we'll have to keep a close eye on there. But up toward Paradise Hills and on down toward Canton, very strong winds coming into your town. Tornado warning is in effect here. Assume that across the entire county, though, we're going to have the potential for some damage coming out of this. And in fact, on the debris tracker, we may be seeing strong enough straight line winds to detect a little bit of that. And it's pretty messy in here, but there have certainly been some hints of wind strong enough for some damage. Right up here in southern Lyon County, really need to watch this where where we have that bow, kind of the northern edge of that, see if that starts to spin just a little bit.
Hey, Trent, you see in the chat about the tree on the house and power lines near Johnson Road in Benton. And then there's also a down power line tree on Main Street in Benton as well. And we're getting multiple reports of down trees, power lines, and all of that all around the area right now. And hail.
Yeah, okay. So, housekeeping notes real quickly. The tornado warning for Caldwell and Marshall County has been allowed to expire. Worst of the weather has moved out of your area. We still have tornado warning in effect for Lyon and Trigg County for a bit longer. This is a spot here we're going to have to watch for rotation. Possible tornado that's in between Lamasco and Rock Castle. That's going to be crossing I-24 here shortly in southern sections of Caldwell County. So that's going to be south of Hobson. We'll need to keep an eye out for the possibility of some rotation and damage there. Noah, what do you have?
Got a picture and a report from Cottage Grove, Tennessee, of a shed that was, from the viewer, Daryl, bolted to the concrete and got deposited in the neighbor's yard. Looks like some either pretty substantial wind or either a low-end tornado. But either way, it certainly looks like some impressive wind damage in Cottage Grove, Tennessee. Just got that.
Yeah.
Especially looking at it appears to have been on a foundation and concrete and is blown off of it.
And actually, there in Henry County, we did just get a new severe thunderstorm warning. Off to the east of Paris, there's some broad rotation there. 545 severe thunderstorm warning for Henry County, and that will go over toward Benton County as well. Stewart County, we're under a severe thunderstorm warning in addition for you guys around Dover. That runs until 5:30 this evening for straight line winds of at least 60 miles per hour. Definitely looks like along Highway 79 here, just to the east of Paris, we've got at least some hints of rotation with that storm there. But coming back up here into western Kentucky, Marshall, Callaway, and Graves County, we are in the clear at this point. The worst of the weather has passed on by. The strongest winds right now are here in Trigg County. Cadiz, here in a couple of minutes, expect damaging winds to come into your area. This is a wall of very, very strong winds. We've had multiple reports of winds 60, 70 miles per hour. Same here in Lyon County, especially the southern part of Lyon County, south of Eddyville and Catawba. This is looking like a very intense wind coming into town for you guys. We'll loop this around so that you get just kind of get the best idea. It's right along the county line that we have the strongest of the winds coming in. But even up toward Eddyville, very strong winds, possibly at least 50 miles per hour coming into Eddyville, Catawba, and that will eventually end up in the Princeton area as well. Checking the chat to see if we have any additional information there. Of course, it is 5:03. We are in the middle of Local 6 at 5, and we are continuing here with our weather coverage as we have tornado warnings in effect for parts of our area. Just want to quickly check. Do you guys have any information that you would like to share with us?
We do have a little bit of information. This is Jennifer Horbelt, by the way. Gibson Electric has let us know that the afternoon severe weather has caused 1,265 members, homes, and businesses to lose power. This is in Obion County, Tennessee, and in Fulton County, Kentucky. Crews have been dispatched and will restore service as quickly as they can. So they're finding broken electric poles, downed wires, among other things.
That's right, and repairs are going to take a while. So just please be wary of that and acknowledge that it's going to take some time to get that done.
And of course, we've been hearing too about downed trees across the viewing area. The Graves County Sheriff's Department posted a picture showing that they're dealing right now with roads that are blocked because of downed trees.
And if history teaches us anything, after these systems move through, that's when a lot of our viewers safely, because we want you to be safe about it, go out and take pictures of damage, and then they send it to us, and we air it online, or on air, rather.
We'll push it back over to you, Trent.
Okay, thanks, guys. And we have several, looks like a big severe thunderstorm warning is being printed off now. That's going to take this system just about out of our area. But right now, focus is still on Eddyville, Catawba, on down toward Rock Castle and Cadiz, Lamasco as well. This is where we've got the wall of wind that's coming up across Lyon County, it's now getting ready to enter into southern Caldwell County. So especially south of Princeton, that's where we're going to be seeing some of those very strong wind gusts, 60, 70, 75 miles per hour with this line of storms that's coming into town there. Let me go back over and we'll zoom the camera out. I don't want to get locked in on any one spot because we still have several areas that are dealing with some severe weather. Murray, raining really hard. The worst of the weather is over with for you guys. New severe thunderstorm warnings, and it looks like that will take into account those of us in Christian County and Hopkins County, the rest of Caldwell County as well, and the rest of Trigg County. So we're talking about Hopkinsville, Madisonville, Oak Grove, and Princeton. 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts and tornado possible. Within this line of storms, there may be some small-scale circulations that develop and possibly could lead to a brief tornado. But right now, severe thunderstorm warning, and that goes until 6 o'clock. That will take this completely out of the local 6 area. Strong winds here coming into Princeton, right on down through Cadiz, and moving on to the east. For those of us in Calvert, Benton, Murray, Mayfield, and we've had damage, the worst of the weather is over with for us. And in fact, let's go out. I want to go all the way out for a view here across the local 6 area. Still raining across southeast Illinois, back across western Kentucky and northwest Tennessee. But the leading edge of our line of storms, the worst of the weather, is already over here east of the lakes. These things really blew through fast. Part of the reason that we've had so much wind damage is simply the fast forward motion of these storms, moving at 60, 70 miles per hour. And that's part of the reason why we've had so much extensive damage. Do you guys, on Source 2, do you guys have some pictures ready?
I do. To
put on air? Okay. If we want to punch on over toward, punch over to Source 2 real quick and take that. We've got some viewer photos and video. This is, wind damage. Look at those winds. This is from near Mayfield, from Zach. And
got a lot of this, Trent, in Marshall. It would appear the pictures are coming in fast and furious. I'm trying to go through all of them, but just piecing it together with the radar, it looks like the Benton area in particular, there's a lot of this, and unfortunately there's a tree down on a Jeep from Ella in Benton. It certainly seems like Benton, Central Marshall, down to Mayfield, that corridor southwest to northeast, there's a lot of this. In a report also of an electrical fire in Tennessee. A lot of pictures from Brewers, Kentucky coming in now as well. But let me see if I can pull up the storm reports for you here while I've got it. I got it up here. See if I can get them on here for you. But I'm going to try to get some more in here for you. But as of right now, there you see, and this is going to fill in as more people send in the reports to the National Weather Service. And here, this is some trees down on a house in Benton and trees down on Main Street. The north side of Mayfield, a lot of trees down near Hickory, and I guess as we're labeling it, possible tornado damage on the north side of Mayfield from 4:31 p.m. earlier. And, of course, the Graves County Mesonet site recorded a 68.8 mile per hour wind. That was at 4:38. The Graves County Mesonet, that's the official weather sensor that measures wind and temperature in Graves County. That's located here about 3 or so miles southeast of Mayfield. And also in Murray, we had a 56 mile per hour wind gust. And you see some other damage here, at least officially, that's been reported in Union City. And multiple trees down, a couple on houses, Trent, from earlier. But if you have photos, send them to us on the weather window or on Facebook, and I'll try to go through them here in the next few minutes.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. We'll head back over to source number 1. And again, we're starting to see the worst of the weather moving east and getting ready to move out of the local 6 area. Let's go down for a closer inspection of where we do still have active severe weather ongoing. There is still a tornado warning in effect for a few more minutes here in Caldwell, Trigg, and Lyon County. Let's get you that information. I have to move the camera around so that we don't cover those warnings up too much. And it looks like a new tornado warning just came out, so I'll get you that information here in a second. So the tornado warning for Trigg County goes until 5:15, 6 more minutes. The wall of wind coming through Cadiz right now, probably seeing 60 to 70 mile per hour wind gusts there blowing through town. Wall of wind coming through Princeton right now. Tornado warning there for the Princeton area, back toward Eddyville and Caldwell until 5:15 as well. So that's set to expire here in 6 minutes. We'll move the camera out so that we can get you the information on the new tornado warning that just came out, and this is going to take into account northern Christian, southern Hopkins, and eastern Caldwell County. So this is going to be for Dawson Springs, Earlington, Morton's Gap, and Nortonville. This is a tornado warning until 6 o'clock for radar-indicated potential rotation with that storm headed into town there. So let me go back over for a look at the winds inside the storm. And certainly the biggest issue is the straight line wind with this. We don't see any real tight circulation right now, but the biggest problem is going to be here south of Princeton. So it's headed towards Cerulean and Gracie, and move our camera to the south a bit over toward Lafayette, and right along the Christian and Trigg County line, I-24 out toward Oak Grove. It's really going to get windy here in just a bit. But the worst of the weather is getting ready to move out of the Local 6 area here in the next little while. The strongest winds coming through Cadiz just a few minutes ago and getting ready to move over into Christian County in just the next couple of minutes as well. Princeton, you guys are getting ready to see some strong winds. There's some strong winds back here toward Fredonia and Eddyville as well, and those are going to be pushing off to the north of town here in Princeton for you guys. All right, so we zoom back out, and again, our warnings, just about 4 more minutes left on our warnings here in Caldwell, Trigg, and Lyon County. Another report coming in from Graves County. 3-inch limbs broken and power poles broken. That was at 5:04. The report came in at 5:04. That was quite a bit earlier from southwest of Wingo. All right, so severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado 7 miles south of Princeton. So let's put a track on this for those of you that are headed off to the east of Princeton. We're going to, in just a few moments, guys, because these storms are getting east of our general coverage area. Once we get through Princeton here, we're going to get ready to go back into the newscast if you guys want to start to prepare behind the scenes for that. We'll take you here for a couple more minutes. Let me give you a squall line track on where this is going next from near the Princeton area, arcing down through Cadiz and to the south. So this is moving to the east at about 65 miles per hour. Princeton, the wall of wind has really kind of already come through town, but there's still some wind off to your east. So a couple more minutes for you guys. Hopkinsville, strongest winds come through at 5:25, and then really from there, it's out of the Local 6 area. So by about 5:30, this thing is going to be done with the Local 6 region. Go back to regular radar mode here again, and you see the strongest winds getting right along the leading edge here. Pretty much has already come through Princeton. Dawson Springs, you guys have probably got maybe 4 or 5 minutes until that strong gust of wind pushes through town for you guys. We also have a report that Main Street and 641 in Benton is blocked by downed trees. So again, sounds like some pretty substantial damage in and around the Murray or the Benton area. Again, Main Street 641 in Murray is blocked by trees. All right. Is this the flash flood warning that's printing out, guys?
Looks like
yes,
it,
that's
yeah.
added out there.
So flash flood warning just issued as well for Caldwell, Christian, Hopkins, and Lyon County until 8 o'clock this evening. So in addition to the wind, now we have the issue of a lot of rain coming through town here. So again, our tornado warnings set to expire in about 1 minute here in Trigg and Lyon and most of Caldwell County. So the worst of the weather has moved through Cadiz, is moved through Princeton, is getting ready to head toward Hopkinsville at around 5:25, and Madisonville coming up here at around 5:25 as well. All right. With those warnings set to expire, guys, we want to go back to the news desk. All right, we'll toss it to Todd and Jen, and you guys can fill us in on your latest.
Trent, thank you. Many locations opened up today to serve as a shelter during this active weather.
Yeah, that includes churches and judicial buildings in multiple counties and cities. And we have team coverage of the storms tonight. Local 6's Jane Kim is in Graves County at Mayfield Elementary. In Dresden, Tennessee, we have Local 6's Jasmine Youngblood. And in Marshall County, we have Kaylee Anderson. And we start with Jane Kim in Graves County at the Mayfield Elementary School. All right, Jane, what's it looking there for you right now?
Todd, Jen, I'm currently at Mayfield Elementary where the all clear was given. People are actually heading out right now because the weather has passed. I had a chance to speak to some of them about their experiences. One woman talked to me about how she still has trauma from the December tornado. Others mentioned their gratitude about having their loved ones next to them. And as you can see right now, a lot of people were here sheltering in place, and now they're ready to leave, but they're grateful to be safe. Live in Mayfield, Kentucky, Jane Kim, WPSD, Local 6.
All right, Jane, thanks. Yeah, it looks like a lot of kids and some adults there. There are other storm shelters in Graves County elementary schools. Those include Wingo, Farmington, and Simpsonia. In Northwest Tennessee, Weakley County is doubling its courthouse as a storm shelter.
The doors opened at 4:30. They were going to stay open until the weather passed. Local 6's Jasmine Youngblood is in Dresden for us tonight. Jasmine, how are people preparing for this evening, or how did they prepare?
Sheltering has been everybody's biggest priority here in Dresden. You know, after the December 10th tornadoes, they didn't really have anything left. So the courthouse has been turned into a shelter for people to attend and just to be safe tonight.
Joan Turnbow and her family moved into this new house in January after their last one was destroyed on December 10th. Her biggest worry is having to live that experience again.
I'm anxious. I'm nervous. A little concerned about how it's going to turn out. Hopefully it misses us. Just got like drinks and snacks, a power cord, that way we could kind of charge up.
So she's prepared, packing everything her family needs to take to the shelter at the courthouse. Ray Wigington with Weakley County Emergency Management says they've provided 3 shelters across the county. It's been their main focus.
Some of the structures that normally people would be sheltering in, as far as homes and businesses, have been damaged by the last tornado.
The Weakley County EMA is also prepping for what could be after the storm passes through.
We're preparing our teams for damage assessments after the storm is over. If we have no damage here in Weakley County, we're prepared to go to our neighboring counties to help them out, just the same as they helped us.
Kind of over precautious after going through all that, but it's better to be safe than sorry, I've learned.
As for Turnbow, she's prepared all she can. Now she's just waiting.
I've packed the car, that way as soon as they get here and we get the call, you know, we can just go. That way everybody has their own bag, they just grab it and we get in there and take the helmets and hope for the best.
She says best case scenario, she can return back to her home tonight.
Now the doors are still open. If you're experiencing power outages or anything like that, they say that you can still come and they won't turn anyone away. In Dresden, Tennessee, Jasmine Youngblood, WPSD, Local 6. Jen?
Jasmine, thank you. There are also shelters at the Gateway Center in Martin and Cumberland Presbyterian Church in Sharon. With storms rolling through right now, there are some heightened storm anxiety. There's heightened storm anxiety, following December 10th.
Yeah, some churches in the Marshall County area are stepping up to provide a safe place for people to shelter. Local 6's Kaylee Anderson live for us there in Marshall County tonight. So, Kaylee, were there a lot of people there?
I will say there are quite a bit of families that are here. They open their doors at 3 o'clock, but even, 10 minutes before the 5, families were pouring in, and they're in these Sunday school rooms just hanging out until they get the all clear. And I will say some families, with the weather warnings expiring, have decided to leave. And it's welcome to anyone in the community who needs a safe place to stay. And the staff here at the church has been preparing all afternoon. They have snacks and water set aside for folks. And their goal is to shelter in one of the main Sunday school rooms here in the basement and watch Trent and Noah on TV. And the basement is open until 9 or whenever we get the all clear. Pastor Evan Williams says this is the least they can do to ease people's minds.
This is, the least of what we can do to help people with the way the Lord's blessed us, to show that love to other people.
Williams says they're hoping to keep this open for future storms, so make sure to take advantage of storm shelters near you. If you don't have a safe place where you are. Live in Calvert City, Kaylee Anderson, WPSD Local 6.
Kaylee, thanks. Hardin Church of Christ, Missionary Baptist Church, and the Marshall County Judicial Building are also open to the public this evening.